Hello and welcome to Two Words Wolves Pod. I'm Ryan Eichten, and this is a solo edition of the podcast because it is currently 2 a.m. in Denver, Colorado, 3 a.m. Central. So my sleep schedule is in danger this week, but had to jump on for just to get anything out there about Game 2. Timberwolves win 119-114. I have a guest lined up for later in this week. We'll do a proper breakdown of this game with a little bit more time to think about it. But holy cow, this Game 2 had like Stefan from SNL. It had everything. I thought they were cooked. I thought the Wolves after the first quarter were absolutely cooked. I thought for an 11-point loss in Game 1, it was as bad of a as much as 11-point loss can look like. Just I thought the Wolves were in a really tough spot. Maybe still do, but certainly once they're down 17 early in the second quarter, and it looked over. It looked done. Pack it in. Book your tickets to Cancun. The Wolves were on the ropes. We say it all the time, but it's just true about this team. And it's their best quality and it's their worst quality. The minute you count them out, the minute you have doubt, like they're done. The second they do that, you do that. They'll make you look silly. They made me look silly. I didn't say anything necessarily, but like I just felt like they were cooked. I didn't think Ant had it in them. I didn't think the team as a whole had it in them, but they kept chipping away. The key was they win the 9 Jokic minutes at the start of the second quarter, 11-5, taking that at the end of the first quarter, the 14-point lead down to single digits. And that was the biggest thing, is you just got to win those minutes. But then let's see here, I have it in my notes. Rudy picks up his third foul with 9:06 left in the second quarter. 2 of the fouls were drawn by Jonas Valanciunas on rebounding. Still kind of a weird rotation quirk. I'm not sure why Rudy is playing in all of these non-Jokic minutes. To me, you would be far better served to just match him minutes-wise, 1-for-1 with Jokic. But Finch, maybe they feel like they need Rudy in there for Valanciunas. I'm not sure, but I thought that came back to bite him because they were missing Rudy there. But so Rudy picks up his third foul, 9:06 left in the second quarter. The Wolves are down 11, 44-33. And they build this comeback. They went small because they more or less had to. Julius had a couple fouls too. And they built back. They go on a 31-12 run, basically after Rudy checks out. And what I'll say, I don't think they went on the run because Rudy checked out. And we'll talk about the end of the game because Lord knows they needed Rudy for the end of the game. I just think that this team has a knack for when they're at their worst, they play their best. When their backs are up against the wall, they play their best. And that was a perfect example. So they go on a 31-12 run as Rudy goes to the bench, and it looks like, hey, maybe they're up 8. Maybe they can pull this one out. And to close the first half, they give up an 8-0 run, including a half-court buzzer beater from Jamal Murray, reminiscent of 2 seasons ago. I don't remember if it was game 3 or 4. I believe game 4. He hits the buzzer beater there, and that put the Nuggets up 20. This one just tied the game. But I thought if the Wolves had lost the game, that would have been a sequence that we look back on, was that end of the first half. Similar kind of story with free throws. If the Wolves had lost this game, their 11 missed free throws would have really been a talking point for this one. But yeah, the rest of the second half, it was they were tied at halftime, just like game 1. But the first half, that's just a bonkers first half. I don't even feel like talking about the officiating. It's more tiki. The first half was more tiki tack than I like, but then weirdly in the second half there was like a 2-minute stretch where like both teams committed like 5 fouls each, and they just didn't call it for like a 2-minute stretch. It was the weirdest thing. And I tweeted out about the officiating. I hate that it's the story, and I said like it's up to you who you blame for that. Some people blame the officiating. Some people blame the Wolves for just not getting over it. Some people blame the Nuggets for flopping or whatever. But I mean, it started with Finch pregame, just went on a whole tirade about the officiating, and I don't necessarily disagree with his main thesis that like if you flop, you get a call, and if you go up strong, you don't, and that's fair enough. But I just thought it was a bad look. Like, man, you're down 1-0, like you need this is a must-win game, at least as far as game twos goes. Like to focus on the officiating, I didn't agree with that from Finch. And post game, he didn't appreciate another officiating question. He said next question immediately to that. So that's kind of the vibe I prefer. Just like we're not talking about the officiating. Even if it doesn't even matter if you're right. It doesn't matter if you're right about the wrong calls you're getting or not getting. Like just you got to win the game, and they did. So to that point, but tied at halftime again. It's close the entire way, but you get down to the last 5 minutes or so, where the Wolves outflank the Nuggets in the final couple minutes here. Yeah, I rewatched it back. Julius hits a pair of free throws, and then I thought a really poor sequence. Christian Brown goes in for a driving dunk, just with like no defensive resistance at all, and the Wolves call timeout. They're down 3, and from there, the Wolves just insane. Julius makes a layup. I thought Julius was really good in this game. Obviously, I'm sure if you guys listen to this podcast, you're following us at Canis. I posted Sunday morning. Go look at the tweet. You just can't have it from Julius. Just 3, just unacceptable effort plays from Julius. I posted that, and so if I'm going to criticize him, and I guess I use the Canis account instead of my own, but whatever. If I'm going to criticize him for that, I think it's important to point out that they don't win this game without Julius Randle, and that's the classic conundrum. Similar stuff applies to Rudy, but like they don't win this game without Julius Randle. So they're down 3, about 5 minutes left. Julius hits a bucket. Rudy gets a stop on Jokic. Jaden hits a dunk. Another Rudy stop on Jokic. Dante gets out for a layup. And now the Wolves are up 3. And 4 minutes left, way too much time. But they just kept getting stopped. Murray missed a 3 toward the end of it. And you get this stretch where there's misses back and forth. But so Rudy finishes his game with only 2 points. We talked about his offense and them being able to find Rudy in the offensive flow. And I thought this game, that was the exact opposite. On the offensive end, there was a lot of thought, especially the first quarter, there was a lot of Rudy junking up the offense. And it's more on the guards and the ball handlers than it is on Rudy. But he only has 2 points in this game. It's a putback dunk over where he out physicals Nikola Jokic. And then so the Wolves are up 4 with 2 minutes left, and Aaron Gordon just hits this just absolute dagger 3-pointer. Aaron Gordon's just incredible. Really good player. But then next possession, Ant gets doubled at the top of the key. And it's just like, this is what it needs to be. Dante DiVincenzo lifts up. Ant just has to make the most simple pass to wide open Dante DiVincenzo, who hits a 3. Just a absolute bomb of a 3. And that was the moment I was like, oh, they're winning this game. They're up 4 with less than a minute left. Jokic hits a dunk, and Christian Brown grabs an offensive rebound and gets fouled. And he misses the first free throw, and that was it. The Wolves were able to close it out from there. But the big story down the stretch of this game was just Rudy Gobert just absolutely hounding Nikola Jokic. Clearly, like there was some like they were gassed. So I mentioned the Jokic dunk. They cut the Wolves lead to 2 with 50 seconds left. Prior to that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Jokic was 0 for 6 in the fourth quarter and 0 for his last 7. That was Rudy. And so as much as we want to talk about, well, they came back in this game when Rudy was on the bench, and I'm sure the bad faith actors out there will point that out, but they don't win this game without Nikola Jokic. They don't win this game without Rudy Gobert. And that was a big thing in the third quarter when Rudy picked up his 4th foul and had to sit on the bench there too. The Wolves just didn't have a defensive answer for Jokic. Obviously, Randall did his best, Nasri did his best, but like they just didn't have a proper option for him. And we all remember 2 years ago where Cat was the defensive option and Rudy Lurks. Well, you can't do that anymore. The Nuggets have shooters everywhere. Aaron Gordon can shoot. So it's just Rudy Gobert straight up. And if you remember it again, 2 years ago, Game 5, Jokic torched him. Jokic torched Rudy. And Jokic will do that to a lot of players. He probably will do that to Rudy later in this series, maybe. But Rudy Gobert's defense, Jonah Maves is gonna be on this podcast later this week from Zone Coverage. He posted late this Monday night, at least Tuesday morning, all of the Rudy Gobert sequences of stops that he got down the stretch. I go look at Jonah and his account and what he posted there. But yeah, so Jokic 1 for 7 in the fourth quarter, and Jamal Murray 1 for 5 in the fourth quarter. Those guys were 2 for 12. Like that was where the Wolves won the game. Down the stretch of the game, the Wolves were able to get buckets, and the Nuggets weren't. And that was something in Game 5 I thought that was opposite. Denver was missing all sorts of shots, open shots. And I was like, well, the Wolves were getting contested shots, and I was like, well, if that's going to continue, the Wolves just don't have a chance because like the other team is just so much better on offense. And I think what we saw, not necessarily the game bogged down at the end of the fourth quarter, and that happens in a playoff game. Like it gets tight, all that stuff. But I thought in the middle parts, the second quarter on, it was the first time this series. A couple things. First time this series that the Wolves looked like they were playing a team that was 21st in defensive rating during the regular season. That's Denver. Throughout this series, like it felt like Denver had a solid defense, and maybe they just like the Wolves have a flip the switch. Maybe Denver has a defensive switch, and they've been all the caveats. They've been injured, blah blah. But like the Wolves just need to get to the rim, and that I felt like they were doing that. I thought Nas finally a bounce back game from Nas. He was really good in this one. Jaden McDaniels as well had like the Velociraptor arms where he, I don't know, that's probably not even the right dinosaur. I should ask my toddler for the correct dinosaur for this, but like just using these gigantic long arms to lay the ball up into the rim. And then we talked about Dante DiVincenzo, just the dagger. And he's had in New York, should ask him about this a couple of years ago. He had the game winner. I can't remember what round or opponent, but like he was big for them too. But yeah, Naz Reid, 11 points, 4 of 9. Just gonna kind of continue to go down the list. Bones Highland, when the Wolves needed scoring, he was absolutely utterly necessary. He had a bunch of bad fouls. The Nuggets had 4-point plays in the first quarter, and at least 2 of those were on Bones fouls. So just like insane first start of the game. Like you mentioned, the both like the Denver crowd, the Denver coaches, and the Wolves coaches and players both were all very frustrated with the officiating. So maybe there's like cliche on that. It's like if both teams are pissed at you as from a ref, like maybe you're doing a good job. Yeah, just they got solid performances across the board. Obviously, we talk about the Rudy offense, but like, who gives a flying bleep if he's gonna shut down one of the greatest players I've ever seen in Nikola Jokic? Just a game that, again, I thought they were dead. I really did. Before I kind of go into that, Anthony Edwards, especially in the second quarter, but really down the stretch of the game, he's clearly going through it. Like he's not 100%. And this runner's knee thing he's got is going to flare up. We saw it a couple times. I marked it down. 9:16 in the first quarter, Ant grabs his knee. 6:35 in the second quarter, Ant goes down hard and is slow to get up. That's the type of stuff that, like, it's clearly bothering him. And that's kind of the Wolves' fault, because they should have won like 3, 4, 5 more games in the regular season, and they would be facing the Lakers or Houston, a much easier matchup than this. So maybe that's on the Wolves. But for what it seems like, whatever capacity, 100%, whatever capacity Ant is at right now, I thought he played sensational. 30 points, 10 rebounds. That's the biggest thing. Is just has a knack for, like, when this was not the case in game 1, but like when they need a rebound, Ant would soar in for it. 2 assists, including the dagger from Dante. He had 7 in game 1, but even assists for Ant end up not being a great stat, because, like, he'll pass the ball and it'll go swing and end up in someone else's hand where he doesn't get the technical assist. But the whole advantage the Wolves had on that play was the opposing defenses just loading up on Ant. So assists aren't always a great barometer. I'll have to eventually do a rewatch and really dive into what part of how Ant did playmaking. But then Ant did great getting into the rim, especially he goes 3 of 11 from 3 again. I think that's probably maybe where the knee has bothered him most, is that just, from my eye test, he doesn't have the same, like, lift on his jumper, to me, it seems. And obviously he hits through. It's on, like, the catch and shoot ones is fine. Like, his upper body and his base is all there. I just think on those step backs, a lot of times it's just not quite there. And since those are tough shots, like, you just end up missing them a lot. I guess Dante a plus 20 in this game. So, like, they crushed the 30 minutes Dante was on the court. But this is the Anthony numbers that they're going to need. And I think it's still a big question. The Tuesday and Wednesday off will help, but still a big question what this knee, I mean, it could be bad, it could be great. We really have no idea. The progression on this thing is linear, and the only way to get it to heal is rest and time, neither of which they really have time to give Ant. But this is the version of Ant they need, because he's their biggest advantage in this series. I retweeted it, but holy cow, Jaden McDaniels just tore into the Nuggets in his postgame. He called, like, their entire rotation bad defenders, including Gordon, which obviously I would disagree with him on. That will end up, if the Wolves lose or whatever, that'll end up being bulletin board material. But Jaden McDaniels don't give 2 flying bleeps. He does not care at all about that type of crap. I said to Britt Robson between pressers, I referring to this quote, I said, Jaden is a mother effer, and that's a compliment. He just doesn't care. He's willing to rub your nose in it. Just, Jaden's a fun watch, really is. The shot hasn't been there, over 3 from 3 tonight, but yeah, they needed every bit of Jaden on defense and the 14 points he scored on offense. But yeah, big picture, I thought they were dead, really did. And there's still worries to be had, but the way, it's just another example. Every time you think they're cooked, this is the 4th straight season they've done this, and there's part of me thinks they got to fix that aspect of it. Don't get so low so you need to come back and be high or whatever. But every time you think they're done, they go out and beat one of the best players you've ever seen, and a not too distant champion. So it'll be interesting to see where this goes. Ant's health is going to continue to be a question mark as the season goes on, or series goes on. But Thursday night, Game 3, Target Center, is going to be an absolute awesome atmosphere. Just glad they won for at least that, because now there's a game that we get to. It'll be a party late night on Thursday night. It really will be. And I'm looking forward to kind of getting a rewatch in and breaking this game down further, but I needed to jump on and really talk about this game. And before I fly back home, I need to go home. I'm so tired. I would like to be at home, but yeah, Wolves win game 2, 119-114. We'll be back later this week to break it all down and give a quick preview of game 3. But yeah, thank you everyone for listening. Go Wolves.
Hey, you.